Okay, so I'm doing this video as kind of a continuation of the video I did on serious relationships. And this has to do with communication in a relationship or in a marriage. A couple of interesting facts about marriages is that most couples wait 6 years after trouble begins in their relationship to seek help. So it's important to gather these as many tools as you can in your toolbox so that you can have these at hand and have practiced them in a relationship so when conflicts do come up. All marriages do have conflict. It's interesting because 69% of all marital problems are perpetual, and 2/3 of the conflicts are not solvable. So it's interesting. Marriage is a way for us to come in touch with our own selfishness. Some common stressors are external stressors, or some common conflicts are external stressors like a job loss or an illness or the COVID virus, addiction. A second one is relationship with the in-laws, money, sex, division of duties, and parenting. So I'm going to be sharing with you some tools that John Gottman did research on and discovered that these 4 ineffective communication styles can predict divorce by 91%. He has the Marriage Institute in California and has a love lab which he's studied over 3,000 couples and has developed a way to predict divorce. So conflict resolution is not about one person changing, it's about negotiating and finding a common ground. Gottman's research clearly demonstrates that conflict is not the cause of unhappy marriages. It's how conflict is handled that makes a difference between a disaster of a marriage and a master marriage. Some good tools and resources that you could find on his website. His website is thrivinglaunch.com. And it's John and Julie Gottman, and he has some more in detailed resources if you want to refer to those. So let's talk about effective and ineffective communication. He describes the 4 components to ineffective marriages as the 4 horsemen, which is a metaphor for conquest, war, hunger, and death, which is found in Revelation in the Bible, and the 4 destructive styles of communication that can predict divorce. So the first horseman, is criticism. What does that look like? It's verbal attacks on the personality or the character of the person. And it looks like a harsh startup to a conversation. It's accusatory. It's used to be harsh and negative. It begins with you statements like you never clean up after yourself or you are such a slob, versus the more effective way to communicate is use I statements. I would like for this to happen. So when you have a complaint, start with the I message and offer a recommendation. Ask specifically for what you want. Along with that, have no expectations. Only hope that your partner will listen and will change or negotiate. Expectations are a form of control. They will always bring disappointment and despair, rather than using hope instead of expectations. The second horseman, or the second ineffective style, is contempt. What does that look like? What is that? It's verbal, emotional, or psychological abuse. It's attacking the sense of self. It often follows criticism. It can look like sarcasm, cynicism, name calling, eye rolling, sneering, mockery, hostile humor. It communicates disgust to the person that it's directed toward, and it escalates conflict. So instead, the more effective way to communicate is describe your own feelings, describe your own thoughts. You can even build in a culture of appreciation by stating, I appreciate you for, instead of contempt. Negative feelings, they don't disappear because we don't want to deal with them. In fact, they can become more intense. So be open to resolve conflict. Bring it up. Talk it up and wrap it up, rather than save it up, blow it up, and then mop it up. The third ineffective ways of communicating, or the third horseman, is called defensiveness. That's a very natural reaction when feeling criticized. So instead, it's also a way of sidestepping responsibility for yourself. You're seeing yourself as a victim. It communicates the idea of the problem isn't me, it's you. It reverses the blame. So instead, the more effective way to communicate is take responsibility for some part that you have played in the conflict. The fourth horseman and the fourth ineffective way of communicating is stonewalling. What is that? Well, it's a way to avoid conflict. It conveys disapproval, distance, or separation. It's in some way ignoring the partner, showing no sign of responsiveness. It's an emotional disengagement. Statistically, it's more common in men than women. However, women can also do this as well. It's a consequence of feeling flooded or overwhelmed. That's why we do it. It's an effort to retreat. But it communicates the wrong message. So the more effective way to communicate is verbalizing, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling flooded. I need to take a break. And research shows it takes 20 minutes to lower the blood pressure, to lower the pulse rate, to get out of the lizard brain, which is the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain. And when that lizard brain is kicked in, it leaves no room for the rest of the brain to be creative and solve problems. And so in order to be able to solve problems, you need to relax the lizard brain at least for 20 minutes, do something you like, and then come back and let the brain be able to be creative and solve these problems. So do something that's relaxing. Take some deep breaths, go on a walk, exercise, take a warm bubble bath, listen to some music, leave the scene, of course, and take a moment to get out of the lizard brain. So those are the four ineffective communication styles, which is criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. And then the more effective ways to communicate and to resolve the conflict. So major pointers for a happy relationship and happy marriage: ask for what you want, communicate what you're feeling, and have no expectations, only hope. Use a gentle startup. Complain without blame. Make and receive repair attempts when repairing the relationship. Accept your partner's repair attempts. Soothe yourself. Soothe your partner. Take a break when you're flooded. Compromise. Be tolerant of each other's faults. Avoid the if only he or she thinking. So I hope these tools help. I hope these will be a good skills and tools to put in your toolbox. Remember, do what you can to take responsibility for your part of becoming the best you that you can be. Thanks.